Welcome to EPAG Youth. Let's all stand up, and can we move up front? Everybody, come on. If you can walk, come on.
Hi, guys.
Okay, let's go.
Whoa.
Come on. Thank you, guys.
As I reflect, I find perspective during the best and worst days of this life. You were always by my side. You're in the pain, you're in the promise, and on the days the furnace finds my faith, you're the fourth within the flames. I need to know what the future says, 'cause if the past could talk, you would tell me, my God is finished yet. If he did it before, he can do it again. So I trust in what comes next. Oh God, I know is no faithfulness. And my hindsight says I can trust it with what's next.
There's more.
There's more ahead than what's behind me. 'Cause through the highs and lows and in between, got to go ahead of me. And where you call me, I will follow. And if the water folds beneath my feet, then you pull me from the deep. I need to know what the future says. If the past could talk, you would tell me this. My God is finished yet. If he did it before, he can do it again. So I trust in what comes next. Oh God, I know you know the faithfulness. Yeah, my hindsight says I can trust him with what's next. Oh God, I know you know the faithfulness. Oh, oh, I need to know what the future says. If the past could talk, you would tell me this. My God isn't finished yet. If he did it before, he can do it again. So I trust in what comes next. 'Cause my hindsight says I can count on this. My God isn't finished yet. If he did it before, he can do it again. So I trust in what comes next. Oh God, I know you know the faithfulness. Yeah, my hindsight says I can trust him with what's next. God, I know you know the faithfulness.
your love is like no other. Through your love, we find true peace, identity, and purpose. You search for the lost. You strengthen the weak. Unconditional love. I pray that this week we would strive to love others like you love us. In Jesus' name we all pray. Amen. Let's take your seats, give a high five, fist bump, say what's up and hello to the person next to you.
What's up, everyone? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to youth. Is it inappropriate to say hump day? Is that like not a thing? It's like, isn't that what people used to say on like Wednesdays, like happy hump day, and then they'd use the camel emoji? I feel like I need to get educated on that before I say it, but just thought I'd, spice it up right away. Welcome to youth. It's almost February, which is insane. Your first month of 2023 has almost gone by. Logan's so excited about it that he's just over there by himself. He can't even help it. He's like, wow, the first month has gone by so fast. I can't even comprehend it. You guys, I want to make two announcements. First off, before we even get there, how many of you had fun at our youth hangout? Some of you guys were there. Yes, way to represent. If you weren't there, we're going to have another one in a little while. A little ways out, but not that far out. So you can make it to that one if you didn't make it to the first one. Sam had a lot of fun at ours. We had some adventures, and Nick's gonna know how fun it was next time because this is gonna totally come. It's gonna be so great. And Eli will be there next time too. So we're just excited for it. It's gonna be awesome. You were there virtually. I will give Eli credit for that. He was there virtually. You guys, I know you're like, March is so far away, I can't even think about it, but the first weekend in March is our EPEG Youth Retreat, which is where we load up on a bus, we drive a few hours north. Hi, Jack Robertson, welcome. We drive a few hours north. There is going to be broom ball, there's tubing there, there's laser tag. I'm trying to put my words to it. Laser tag. There's going to be games we're going to be playing all weekend. There's going to be food, snacks. We're going to have a worship team that's going to be there. I'm going to share some messages. It's just going to be a really great time for you to get away for the weekend. Raise your hand if sometimes you just got to get away from the craziness, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. To register within the beginning of February, your parents will be able to register you, or maybe you'll register yourself. But I just want to make you aware of that. There's scholarships available for everyone, so not being able to go because of finances should not be a concern you should have, because we're going to make sure you get there. And that's the first weekend in March, so just put that on your calendars. It's going to be so great. And then next Wednesday, everyone say next Wednesday, we are having a worship night here in this room, in this space. So you'll be here coming for youth, like your typical night at 6:30. And you're going to be like, what's happening? Because it's looking different than normal. And it's going to look different, but you guys are going to be here. So it's still going to be the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be different, but the same. So make sure you're here, and it's going to be a wonderful time of worshiping together. Also, if you have not gotten baptized in water yet, and maybe that's something you want to talk about, or you just have questions, or maybe you already know you want to do that, there's also going to be a water baptism in the middle of worship night a week from tonight. So if you want to get water baptized and haven't done that yet, talk to one of your leaders or myself afterwards, and we can figure that out. That'd be super great. Okay, so we're starting a new series tonight, and then we're getting into small groups. Tonight, actually, all of our seniors are combined. So if you're a senior, lady or gal, or lady or guy, you're going to be together with Chase, and it's going to be just a great time to kind of get us going on a new series. But the new series is called The Chips Are Stale. Raise your hand if you have your journal with you. Raise your hand if you need to go get it right now. They are in the back row, Aiden, behind you, if you want to get one, so you guys can take notes. Leaders, are you taking notes? Come on, you guys set the example. Bobby's got his note-taking. Pete's taking notes in his head, I think. So anyways, get your notebook. So this new series is called The Chips Are Stale. Anyone ever had a stale chip before? It just does not taste the same. Can anyone describe a stale chip to me, please? It smacks. It's trash. Okay, give me some, keep going. What does it taste like when you have tasted a stale chip? Dry, okay? A chip, but not as good, or just chip? Cardboard. Carpet floor. Okay, that's what it kind of tastes like? Interesting. Any ladies, maybe your palate's different. What does a stale chip taste like for you? A stale chip, but how would you describe a stale chip? A stale chip. Lack of different word, you're just going to use that. Okay? Soggy. Yeah, see, I don't really get the feeling of dry. I get the feeling when I taste it, just like texture's different. It's kind of soggy, which is weird, but it's just stale. Ugh. No one likes a stale chip. Bree, do you like stale chips? You break them apart? Yes, they're bendable. That's a great word. A stale chip is bendable. Marissa, would you agree? A stale chip, you can just like bend it and it doesn't crack yet. Yes, it loses its flavor. So, you guys, tonight we're going to talk about stale chips. We're just kind of getting the intro. But if you have your Bibles, you can turn to Exodus chapter 2. I'm actually going to recap it tonight. So I have scripture in the back, but I'm just going to recap it for you. But if you have your Bibles, you can turn there and kind of follow along as we go through the first few verses. Anyone ever read Exodus before? A few people? Okay. Yeah, you're kind of familiar with this. And if you're not, well, I am here for you, and we're going to go through it together. So tonight's an intro to the series. It's also an intro into the life of Moses. We've talked about Moses before. We've read from Exodus before. But we're going to take we're going to read through it again, because we can read through it again and learn some new things. And sometimes we have new faces here who are going to engage with us in the Word, and they're going to learn something maybe for the first time, which is so amazing. But in this series, it's going to be an intro. It's going to be an intro to his life. And then also tonight and in the weeks that we are meeting for typical worship or typical youth in the month of February, we're also going to do some work. So for this series, and maybe we kind of get to the point a little bit through most series, we're gonna worship and we're gonna learn about God, and then we're just gonna go to small groups and go home. But tonight I want you guys to do a little bit of work in your small groups together, because after I'm done talking for 15, 20 minutes, I want you to be able to answer some questions so that next time we come back and learn more about this series, you guys you're ready for the next step. So that's what I'm trying to get at tonight. So in the book of Exodus, in the chapter 2, there's this couple, and they get married. Now, I think there's a wedding picture. This is not exactly what their wedding looked like by any means, but I need you to kind of understand what's happening, okay? And sometimes pictures just help you understand what's happening. So this couple they're gonna get married. Yep, that's definitely not what it looked like, but you guys get the idea. Anyone ever been to a wedding before? Anyone been in a wedding before? Anyone never been in a wedding, but you want to be in a wedding someday? Okay. I love it. Youth leaders who are single, now you just saw who you want to pick for your bridesmaids and groomsmen, okay? I just helped you out there. So this couple, they get married, and after they get married, Lauren and Hope, after they get married, the woman gets pregnant. Now, she gets pregnant with a son. If you don't know how that happened, this is a great conversation for you to have with your parents when you get home. And you're like, oh, no, I had never talked to mom and dad about that. Guess what? Here's my opinion. Those conversations were designed to be between you and your parents. And they're sacred conversations. They're conversations where you can ask questions. So I personally think your parents would love if you came home and asked them that question, because then that means you're having important conversations together. So if you don't know how that happens, that's what happened. But she became pregnant with a baby boy. Everyone say a baby boy. And there was a moment after her son had been born, because during the time he was born, everyone say Pharaoh. Pharaoh, this guy who was in high authority, people would say he's power hungry. He wanted all of the people that were Egyptians to live. But, if you were an Israelite or a Hebrew, if you weren't from him and his crew, he just didn't want you to live. So what I'm trying to say is this mother had this son, and she realized that he was not wanted in the place that she was living. He was supposed to be killed when he was born. The girls were fine, but all these baby boys who were born, they needed to die. And so there was a moment after she gave birth to her son that she realized there was something special and different about him, which I think every parent thinks that about their son or about their daughter. And she thought, my child is so special, and in a world that is broken, sinful, killing babies, evil, greedy for power and riches, and in a world that is unjust, I want to hide my baby from these people and this thing. So after she had hidden her baby for so long, and how many of you guys know babies are loud? They cry. They cry when they're hungry. They cry when they're not happy. They cry when their diaper needs to get changed. They cry just to wake you up in the night. Like, babies are loud. So after 3 months, she realized, I can no longer hide this baby. Anyone ever been a baby before? All of your hands should have been up, okay? So she decided, I can't hide my baby anymore. What am I going to do? Does anyone know what she did? She put him in a basket and put him in a river. Anyone feel like you'd do that in this situation? Right? But guys, her baby was in so much danger that one of her very few options was to take her son, put him in this basket, which baskets are meant to protect and keep things safe, and she put it in a river. Judah, is that crazy too? She put him in a river. Now, like I said, the daughters were fine. So actually this baby's older sister, as his mom put the baby in the river, the older sister kind of looked from a distance. Anyone ever just looked at their sibling from a distance and thought, how am I related to you? Yeah, you're like, how am I related to you? Okay? So she's looking at her baby brother that's in this basket in a river, probably floating down. And you guys, what happens next? It's not luck. It's not coincidence. It's only God. So the baby's sister, she stood at a distance. She looked at what was happening. And the daughter of the man who wanted this baby killed finds this baby and rescues him. So the very daughter of the man who wanted to kill baby Moses, which I spoiled his name, who wanted to kill him is the one who finds him. And it says in verse 6, she opened this basket and saw that it was a baby. He was crying. And what did she do? She felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. And if you remember, Big Sister was watching this happen. And as soon as Pharaoh's daughter found this baby, she picks it up. Little TMI, because she didn't have the baby, she couldn't provide for it with milk. Okay? So that means somebody who could provide for this baby with milk had to feed the baby, because babies need food to live. We need food to live. And so how many of you have ever been a sibling in a situation where you were way smarter than your other sibling? That's what's happening. Big Sis says, hey, by the way, hey, you Pharaoh's daughter, you want to keep this baby, right? Baby needs food to live. I know someone who can feed this baby to keep this baby alive. Do you want me to take baby to that person? And what does Pharaoh's daughter say? Yes. Who does the sister take the baby to? His own mother. And so you guys tell me God is stale. God doesn't have anything. This is how it happened, okay? So Big Sis is smart. She brings baby Moses to his mother who gave birth to him, who probably thought the baby wouldn't make it in the river because it's a baby in a river. Babies can't swim, you know what I'm saying? And so the very mother of baby Moses, she feeds him, she takes care of him. And then once he gets to the age where she says, I don't need to feed him anymore. As much as this hurts me, I'm going to give my own son back to the woman who found him. Because if baby Moses is with Pharaoh's daughter, he can live. If baby Moses is with mom, he can't live. He's not wanted by Pharaoh. So crazy enough, baby Moses, he goes back to Pharaoh's daughter, and she names him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. And this is the beginning of Moses' story. Everyone say Moses. Everyone say Moses again, but nice and loud. Moses. Anyone know Moses in real life? A few people? Okay. If you're taking notes, write this down because this is my only point tonight. Your story isn't messed up. The enemy is. Your story isn't messed up. The enemy is. When we read Moses' story and we just take the first 10 verses like I just did and we break it down and we start to unpack the beginning of his life, whenever you unpack someone's story in the Bible, they begin to feel more human and they begin to feel like, hey, I actually feel like I kind of know what they were going through. Like, yes, it was in a different place in a different time. Yes, 100%. But, Moses was born in a place where he was unwanted. He was also so loved by his own mother that she placed him in unsafe conditions in the Nile River because she thought that was actually the safest place for him in the moment. The individual who found him, which was Pharaoh's daughter, she lived in the same house as the man who never wanted him from the start. And let me tell you, that's messed up because Moses lived his whole life growing up in, let's just say a palace with a man who wanted him dead before he was even born. And guess what? Now Moses is calling him grandpa. Talk about how you're going to explain that at the playground when you're playing with your friends. Like, oh yeah, by the way, that's grandpa, but grandpa didn't want me to be alive in the first place, and grandpa doesn't really love me, but, I'm just Moses. The more we break down his story, the less it feels foreign. Being out of place, being lonely. How many of you have ever been uncertain of what's going to happen next? Wyatt always knows what's going on, but some of us don't know, okay? How many of you have ever made a decision and you feel like after you made it, it was the wrong decision? Yeah? How many of you have ever loved someone or something so much that you had to let him or her go? Or it go, right? Yeah, it hurts. And let me tell you, I can promise you Moses' mom, the one who gave birth to him, she had to have felt some sort of brokenness and pain in this moment. But she also knew that the only way her beloved son could live was if he was with Pharaoh and in his household. Parts of Moses' story, they were messy, and as we begin to read it in the weeks to come, you'll understand even more. They were messy, they were broken, they were dysfunctional, some things didn't function even right in the first place. And even though these were parts of his story, never once were they the final part of his story. Even though there was brokenness and messiness in the beginning, and you'll see in the stories to come, man, it's messy. It doesn't mean that he is messed up just because a part of his story is messed up. And it doesn't mean that it was the end. I know students, I know friends, family members, some people who attend EPEG, some of my community. I know people who have come to me into my face, whether they're kind of painting a picture of it, or they just straight up say it. They're like, my story is messed up. Anyone ever heard someone tell them that? Like, my story's messed up. Like, it's just not what it was. Maybe some of you guys feel that tonight. Like, my story is messed up, okay? It's not the way that God created and designed it to be from the beginning. It's messy, and it's a little broken, and there's a little bit of dysfunction in it. I want to tell you guys tonight that just because a part of your story is messy or broken or dysfunctional, that does not mean that you are those things. The only thing that's messed up is the enemy. And here's why tonight, as we understand the story of Moses, we need to understand that from the beginning of time, the enemy has tried to deceive Moses, Adam, Eve, everyone who is in the Bible. He just tries to deceive Christopher and Logan and Matthew and Jack and Lauren and Michaela and all of us as leaders, as adults, if you're a pastor, if you're a newbie. Like, he always wants to deceive us from the beginning to believe a lie. And he will want us to deceive that, hey, if part of my story is messy, God doesn't want to be a part of it. Once messy, always messy. Or he'll say, or he'll try to make us believe that because our family failed us. Anyone ever had a family member fail you before? Yeah? Glad I'm not the only one. Just because a family member failed us, and that's part of our story, everyone else in life they're just going to fail us. And so our story is just going to be made up of people failing us, and that's who we are, so we're just going to keep failing people too. He likes to let us believe that one part of our story is somehow what our whole story becomes. And I'm so tired of watching, whether it's a student or a family member or a friend, live out this lie, believing it's a truth and it's the only way they can ever live their life. And one of the things that the devil tries to make us believe, and it makes me so angry, is he'll try to make us believe you can't do better, you're stuck, you will never change, you honestly suck at life, accept the lowest place you've ever been, and that'll be the highest place you'll ever go. Anyone ever felt like the devil's trying to make you believe that? Like you can't change, you're stuck. Oh, your lowest low, that'll be your highest high. Like just accept it, period. You guys want to know something? The only one who can't do better, who is stuck, will never be able to change, who completely sucks at life and won't be able to get higher than hell is literally the enemy. And he will try to convince you that that's your story, but the joke's on him because that's his story. And he knows that in the end, he's not going to win. But guess what? He's going to try to take you down in between the time of now and when Jesus wins forever. He already knows the end. He knows he's going to lose, okay? And he's going to try to take you down with him and make you believe all of these things. But the truth is, that's his story. And you do not have to live out his story and make it your own. You get to be a part of God's story in your life each and every single day. So while the enemy is trying to work overtime on you guys, which he does, he likes to convince you and deceive you, and he'll work really hard to make that happen. While he's working overtime to try to deceive you into believing that the messy parts of your story means that you specifically are messed up, we are going to say to him, not today, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year, and, not even when I'm in high school or when I'm 80 years old, because you as an EPEG student, you as a leader, you as a child of God, you're going to say, you know what? I read Moses' story. I know that parts of it were messed up, but that didn't mean he was messed up because God had a big plan for him. And I know that parts of my story are messy and broken. And guess what? Sometimes your story is messy and broken, not because of a choice you made, but because of the choices of other people. And yet God is saying, your story is not perfect, but you are not messed up. A messed up part of your story does not mean your whole story is that. In fact, I'm leading a group of students, I'm loving a group of students who are incredible. And you guys have stories of God's love, forgiveness, his kindness, his graciousness, his patience, his peace, and his joy. And I truly believe I'm leading students who are in right living with God. I know we're not all perfect, and we every day have to make the choice to say, hey, I want my story to be what God is writing, and I have to just follow him and love him. You plus a messy situation, guess what that means? It means your story is still good. You plus a broken situation, it also equals that your story is still good. You plus a dysfunctional family or a dysfunctional situation or a life that's not perfect, it equals that your story is still good. And you plus having a bad day, anyone ever had a bad day before? Raise your hand nice and high if you've had a bad day before. You plus a bad day equals your story is still good. Moses' story was still good. It didn't end as perfectly as maybe we see on Disney when we watch a movie, but his story is still good. Your story is still good. And we're going to continue to believe that as we continue in this series. So tonight, here's what I want you guys to do. This is your work. Everyone ready for some work? No? Okay. Here's what I want you to say or think about before you go to small groups. I want you to put in the work to identify what is either maybe broken, messy, dysfunctional, or maybe not even, it's unfunctional. It's not even functioning in the first place. I want you to identify one of those times. Maybe it's not where you're currently at in your journey, but I want you to identify that moment or a time like that it's been messy or broken in your life. I want you to identify it. Because if you don't identify it, you're not aware of it. And if you're not aware of it, guess what? The devil's going to keep trying to deceive you in believing something else. So just think about it for a second. Like, hey, when is the time in my life where it felt really messy or broken? It could be also something that someone did to you, not just you didn't make it messy, someone else made it messy for you. And then tonight in small group, you're going to share a little bit of that with your small group so that next time we meet in small groups, we can continue to work towards believing that our story is still good, believing that, for example, Isaiah's story is still good. God is working in his life, and he is not going to believe that a messed up part of his story means that he's messed up. Right, Isaiah? Sure. Okay. Chase is going to work on him tonight, right? We're going to get there. Okay. Okay. Everyone can stand up. I'm going to close with this. Maybe you're saying, Cynthia, I don't believe you. I don't believe that my story can still be good. I don't really believe that. That's okay if you don't believe it. Because if you ask my husband, I'm not a quitter. Your leaders aren't quitters. And we're going to keep encouraging you and speaking truth and life into your life. And hopefully one day you will believe it. But I'm not a quitter, and I'm not going to stop just because you don't believe it tonight or next year or the year after that. We're going to keep following what we truly believe is the truth in our lives, which is our story is still good because God is the author of it. So if you guys would close your eyes with me, I'm going to pray quick, and then I'm going to dismiss you into small groups. God, thanks so much for tonight. Thank you for these few minutes to be together. We look at Moses' story, and we know that there were messy parts, and so much of it wasn't even his decision or his choice at the beginning. And yet, God, his story is still good because you are the author of it. I pray that you would help us tonight in small groups and let them be so good. Thank you for tonight and for this time together. In your name I pray. Amen. If you're a senior girl or guy, just remember you're going with Chase. And then 10th and 11th grade girls, you'll go with Bree and Joanna. Everyone else is in their normal groups.